when I moved to Dubai 3 years ago, there was a masjid being constructed. And so I see Naseem there, right? And I'm taking a sly, cheeky one, and I'm saying to my kids, Naseem's in the mosque. And I kid you not, right? I'm thinking, I want to speak to him, right? So namaz is finished now, Friday prayers. And I've done my sunnah, done my adhkar, everything, right? Okay, when's he going to come out? So I thought, he's still there. I say, Assalamu alaikum. I was a bit nervous, right? Because it's big, for us, he's a big superstar, and all of that. I said, sorry, champ, or whatever I called him, was waiting for you, just want to say salam, big fan. And he went, and he lied, he said, I should have come out earlier, kept you waiting, so bless him, 100%. And look, they're clever people, right? And boxing is a high risk game. Right, rewards may be high, but the risks are high in my humble opinion, right? Because inshallah, with all of the boxing, we want him, and inshallah, he will get there, right? But when we spoke, it just takes one defeat.
Yeah.
Right, and your investments could potentially be gone. They recognize that. Notwithstanding that, it's like, go on, do your thing. First time I spoke with Hamzah. Hope you won't mind me saying this, but he was on the Zoom because I was speaking to his father, and he said, Hamzah, I'll introduce you to him. I was in Dubai then. So Hamzah comes on. I was like, hey Hamzah, and he's got this, like he's having a stare down with someone, just looking at me, not blinking. And my name's Adil, I'm trying to help. And I went, okay, you know what? Give it back to your dad. I shit myself. I was like, this guy doesn't like me. Honestly, he was just, pretty ice cold,
Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Rizq podcast.
Yeah. And like, I was like, whoa, they need it from someone when I'm not around. Celebrity for my rap before I have to tell you this earlier because my YouTube channel. With their family, like there's gonna be no one else doing it. So the motivational context.
No risk, no Rizq. Get following the YouTube channel now. He is the man.
That's it. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Rizq podcast. Today we've got a very, very special episode with you. We're sat here today with somebody who's risen to the top of the legal field, not only in this country, but in the Middle East as well. And now he's on a mission to help boxers, Muslim boxers in particular, take their careers to the next level. He's a very, very special brother. We've been speaking to him for a few weeks now, and alhamdulillah, very, very pleased to say that he's joining us. So, first of all, Adil, thanks so much for having me in your beautiful home, mashallah.
Jazakallah for coming.
Barakallah feek, bro. So, we're sat today, bro. We've been speaking for a few weeks now, right? And, we haven't known each other for years or anything like that, although alhamdulillah, it does feel like we've known each other for a long time, mashallah. The main reason we started speaking is because you kind of, I don't want to say sound too cheesy and be like you took social media by storm, but in a certain area of social media, which is the boxing field, this name Legal Blows has been blowing up in the last kind of 6 months or so. We've seen some press conferences, we've seen you, working with some very, very established boxers in this field. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, Adil, who you are, your background, and what this whole Legal Blows things is all about.
Yeah, sure. No, thanks, Essen. It's crazy. I don't know where to start, really. But if I start from a bit about myself, as you said, I was born in London, East London, Manor Park. Mum and dad are still there. Went to a local school, state school, Little Ilford School. It was interesting, growing up in East London, where it's like the hood. It literally is, right? You go to school and you're lucky if you come back without getting stabbed or beaten up. That's how it was. But I spent most of my life in East London, and then moved out to the Middle East back in 2005. And I can go in a bit more detail about this, but first went out to Bahrain, came back to the UK, realized bad move, back to the Middle East, went to Riyadh, spent 4 years there, 5 years in Abu Dhabi, and now 3 years in Dubai.
MashaAllah. Excellent, bro. Well, yeah, I think it's interesting to hear that your little stint back in the UK was not the right move. And you had to
you
get
know
back
what,
out
man? I tell you, in Bahrain is a beautiful place. I still think in many respects it's the gem of the Middle East, but it's small. Yeah. I was there for 3 years, and you get felt I had island fever almost, you go into a restaurant, you're going to meet a neighbor. You go to the grocery shop, you're going to meet a client. And there's literally no escape. And after 3 years, it's funny because I had an opportunity to come back with one of the new Islamic banks, and I thought, why not? I came back, Lehman's falls, full subprime. The UK is a mess. and then you got to pay tax. It's always raining, and I thought, get me back to the Middle East.
No, definitely, man. I think that tax that we're paying as well is like we don't even see it in action. So yeah, I can imagine the frustrations of you living tax free, coming back to the UK, paying tax, and you're looking around thinking, well, I'm paying tax, I don't even see anything good in this country.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So alhamdulillah, bro. So tell me a bit about yourself then. So you mentioned that you're a solicitor. Just straight off the bat, so that I'm not using the wrong language, solicitor or lawyer?
So solicitor. So
Okay,
you have solicitor
UK.
or barrister, but
Okay.
English qualified. And I should mention perhaps that when I I wasn't intending to be a solicitor. I come from a family of lawyers.
Okay.
So my sister's in the legal profession. My brother's a qualified solicitor, English solicitor as well. I actually started off doing a history degree.
Oh wow.
And I went to SOAS University, School of Warren, because I was thinking I want to do, learn about Pakistan and partition, all of that. And I soon realized that, history was really dry. They were teaching me about ancient Hindu civilization, which is fascinating if you're into that, but it's not what I wanted to do.
Right.
And I transited and I switched to law.
That's very interesting. That's really interesting. So you come from a family of solicitors, as you mentioned, but you wanted to do something slightly different. Tell me a bit about yourself then. Obviously, as you're growing up, there's a couple of things that I want to touch upon. Obviously, you mentioned about how the area that you lived in was very, very rough. So it'd be good to know a bit about that. And then also at the same time, if you come from a family of solicitors, clearly you had a different idea to a certain degree of what you wanted to do, right? So speak to me about like the experiences that you had growing up, and then also a bit about the mindset that you had in terms of like your vocation and what you were going to do. How come it wasn't that you just went straight into law, like most of your family probably would have been suggesting to you, right?
So again, I'll start with school, right? Because school is where it all sort of kicks off, and it was quite a rough school. I came out with 10 GCSEs, and I kid you not, I wasn't the smartest. I studied, I kid you not, a night before each exam. And I'll give you one funny story about the schooling and the sort of environment I was in and the sort of child I was. Remember this was year 9. I had a really good friend, Imran Khan, his name. He's not the politician or the singer, just kid from the block. And we were going to do a GCSEs, right, in year 10, and we were picking options. And we sort of had this little thing between us where we said, let's see who's going to get the lowest mark in this exam, knowing that we're not going to do it. So, we both sit in the exam, and I come out of it thinking I've really messed up. I've done it on purpose, wrote some silly answers, right? Get results. I'll get 5%. So I'm like, look, my mate, 95%,
No way.
So that triggered something in me, which was, when you're in that age, everyone's just fooling around and doing what they're doing. We'll tell you one thing and do the complete opposite. So, he had the last laugh because he actually did very well, and I was looking like a bit of a mug. But anyway, that was a rough school. But for me, I was saved from getting beaten up, getting stabbed potentially, because I was sort of found religion, if I can call that, really, really early. So again, in year 9, I was wearing a topi in my to school, walking around in salwar kameez. I remember going to Chesington and doing the adhan and all of this. I was saved from a lot of tribulations and trials because of that.
Was that? I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes at that point. Was that those kind of? I can't remember the other group, but there was like Al Muhajirun, and there was a few other groups at that time that were pushing Islam to youth, which is good in some ways. But I think, obviously,
definitely. We had this guy, amazing, really clever brother. I won't mention his name, but affiliated quite close to the Hizb, right? Hizb
Tahrir, yeah.
And we grew up in a family where mum and dad were, especially mum, was really sort of religious, bless her, but they were on this thing where if you ask questions, you didn't get answers, and the guys they would give you answers, intellectualize the religion and rationalize it, and you could relate to some of that, right? Again, I was fortunate, I feel, to come across these sorts of people, because you sort of start getting out of trouble, not on the streets, and you are going to the circle, you're doing X, Y, and Z. So, and after, on that sort of realm, you're either sort of partly religious or going into this, or you're just on the streets and you're fighting. So I remember, this was after school when we sort of finished GCSEs, there's another chap who was in the same year saying to me, Adil, you know what? There were so many times where you walking on, we were ready to just stab you, fight, and then we see you with the topi on the head a few weeks, and we thought, okay, leave the guy alone, he's all right. So, school, we were all young, right? We were all getting into fights and who's badder than the other, who's bigger. And alhamdulillah, thank God, I got out of that quickly and the stoppie came on and that saved me,
Subhanallah.
So that was school. College, gosh, I went to Havering College in Essex. Again, pretty religious minded, right? So I was leading prayers. They're doing the khutbahs and all that, which was really good. A little bit of knowledge that I knew, was trying to sort of just talk to people about that. And that was an interesting experience because I actually went off the rails at college as well.
Okay. In
So,
what way?
when what happens in college, what I found was you had, and I'm not being disrespectful, right? But anyone who was praying and on it, really geeky and nerdy, and no one wanted to be around them. And I was like with these other really cool guys, right? Good laugh, just really good lads. And I wanted to fit in, right? And you're saying, come on, come namaz, come pray. And they did bless them, but you're not part of that circle. And then it was almost, Adil's coming, and actually he's a nice guy, but he's too religious. So again, you are who your friends are, right? There's the hadith as well. You go into a perfume shop, you come out smelling like that. If you into a blacksmith, you're gonna smell like that. Same thing happened to me. I probably spent too much time with the wrong crowd and wasn't strong enough myself. So the namaz went, everything went, and you just start doing what they're doing. But alhamdulillah, the best bit about that was automatically you feel that this ain't right, this ain't me, this is not me. So, I went through quite a testing time at college when just before my exams in my second year, mum had a stroke. So when your mum has a stroke, she was like, literally, this was a day before Eid. We were, even though I was, somewhere on the deen, somewhere not, we were out at a circle and get a phone call, come on, mum's had a stroke. It's the day before Eid. Going on Eid day to the hospital, I remember this. Like 16, 15, 16, yeah, something like this. And the doctor sort of saying, she ain't going to make it. And if she does, she's going to, she's not going to be normal again. I'm an emotional guy. I lost the plot, just crying, everything. You can imagine family coming in and everyone from anywhere coming in. And that's when I thought I've got to fix up, and I didn't sit my exams that year. My mum, alhamdulillah, she made a recovery, but she was put in St. Andrew's Hospital. My dad was working, putting bread on the table. He couldn't give up his job. Brother was doing his degree, sisters doing their thing. And I just remember going in after college one day to that hospital, and my mum was waiting to go to the toilet. And she couldn't speak English. She couldn't utter the words as well because of the stroke. And I thought, I need to be here. So I didn't do my levels that year. And again, in hindsight, not, for me, it's blessings, right? Because I don't think I would have passed or done very well that year. The next year, when my mum found out I didn't sit my exams, she cried and she cried. She made so much dua for me, bless her, that, I did smash it that year. I had all those guys who were talking about the sort of bad eggs, if you like, were gone. And I was there thinking, what am I doing here? And I studied, got married, that's the same year. And then passed my exams, got the highest A-level law mark in the whole of England and Wales. Got a nice, photo in the paper, nice certificate, brilliant. So that was, as I said, tough year, right? My mum's had a stroke, I got to get married, and then university, which was challenging as well, right? So you go into university at SOAS because I thought my wife's from Pakistan and I was infatuated with the whole Pakistan thing and, my country, my this, my that. And, it's almost you go home, go back, get off the airport on the plane and you're kissing the, kissing the matti, all of that kind of stuff. So that's when I went to SOAS wanting to do history, learn about partition and Pakistan, and it was completely different. But what I found, bro, about uni was it was difficult, right? I just got married. My wife was still in Pakistan. You get to uni and there's girls everywhere, and everyone's in this getting to know each other phase and just being polite. And for me, it was like, I'm married. Nice to meet you. I'm married. Just to sit out. And I kid you not, it's harder because a lot of the girls get fascinated by it. Oh, really? And I'm not saying there's anything untoward, but they're intrigued by it. So even keeping it down when you're married, it was hard at uni. But anyway, I digress. But what I found really at uni was when I started doing history, I thought this ain't for me. It's not for me. And my wife had a lot to do with that. By this stage, she got a visa, came over, and she's like, "You're really going to be a teacher?" Because that's what I was going to do.
Right, okay.
It's like, really? And I was like, yeah, I'm not enjoying the course. And alhamdulillah, I switched to law. Had three really fun years. I was getting thirds in my first year just because I was married, wanted to go home, see my wife more than anything. Didn't really study much, but I was fortunate. I had a really good lecturer, Professor Mensky, took me under his wing, said, "Adil, you're better than this," and just got me to focus. And I did, and I came out with the first. I was the only one that year to graduate with the first class. I had a training contract, so a job lined up the year before, and then work started.
Mashallah. So just one thing I wanted to ask then. So you're quite so obviously you would walk around with the topi on, and you mentioned about how you were very much into Pakistani culture and stuff like that. Was there any particular reason why you were quite into the deen? And because like you said, most of your friends were not, right? So is there any reason why you were into it and why you were into your culture and anything like that?
I think on the deen side, it's a mum in particular, very sort of religious, always praying, always, literally always. If it's not Quran or Namaz, it's something, loudly. And she always used to say to us, if we're doing something, God's watching. Allah dekh raha hai, God's watching. And that just resonates, right? So when you do something bad, and we're not perfect, still aren't, right? But something triggers that, this ain't right. And you've got that guilt trip. You can't keep doing it and think, I don't care, because God's watching. It was ingrained. So from the religion side, mum, it definitely was a massive influence. On the culture side of it, and you can choose how you practice your Islam. You can't choose being Pakistani or not. But I don't know what it was, man. It was just, I always knew I wanted to get married young. And I knew that from college. I was like, I'm not going to uni and not get married, because I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust the environment. You see, I had people who had gone to uni, and I didn't want that. And I knew the type of wife I wanted. So for me, and not right or wrong, but I wanted a traditional wife, someone who wasn't going to work, and someone who's going to be quite Eastern values, if I can put it that way. So that just, I don't know, somehow drew me to Pakistan, and that's when I sort of met my wife, and after having there for a little visit in 2 weeks, you had your nikah and you're married, But so I can't pinpoint why Pakistan and that love for that culture, but it was just almost always there.
Because the reason I asked is obviously you grew up in quite a racist area, so you could have very much been, gone down that path and been like a bit of a coconut. You know what I mean? And that would have been probably easier for you, right? And then you could have gone to uni and happy days, So you were quite disciplined with yourself in that sense.
Yeah, and again, I think you learn pretty much really quickly that I never felt English ever. I didn't even feel British. And that you're not like the non-Muslims out there. And you're on your guard almost. You didn't fit in. And if I'm honest, you at uni, we were called, the Pakistanis, real Pakistanis, were calling us British-born, confused Desis. Because who are you? You're Muslim, yes, you don't drink, but you still like football, you still go to, like listen to music. Certain things we do and we don't know what we are. But for me, it was like finding an identity. I'm not white English, and I'm not a Pakistani. So we're something in between. And the only thing we've got a choice about was religion, right? So it was like, and it made sense. And that's the other thing, when it starts making sense, you're like, yeah, this is who I'm choosing to be. I'm not being Pakistani because someone's telling me to. I have to. I don't have to be anything. I don't have to be a coconut. I don't have to be a desi. But I've chosen to be, or tried to be, a practicing Muslim.
MashaAllah. That's very beautiful, actually, because I've not thought of it in that way. Because you're right, we can't choose to be Pakistani or not. Like, we walk out on the streets, people see he's a brown man, he must be Indian or Pakistani, right? One of the two things. You can't help that. 100%. But what you can help is like the way you keep your beard, because there's a certain way that that this is a Muslim. Like that there's if he's wearing a topi, that must be a Muslim. If he's going to the mosque, like, you don't even need to go to the mosque. It's like he's not playing football on the streets because he's at the mosque. There's those things that you're doing which you're choosing to do
100%,
rather than it just being part of you, right?
Yeah, and the other thing is, because there's a lot of this, and I'm not knocking anyone, but South Asian or Pakistani Muslim. For me, it's not about that. If you're Muslim, I don't care if you're black, white, from India, Afghanistan, from Timbuktu, or it doesn't matter. What unites and what gives us a sense of belonging is our faith, right? This is the beauty of it. So I'm not going to affiliate with you or someone just because he's Pakistani Muslim. No, that's irrelevant. You know, that's the beauty, or what I think is the real beauty of Islam. White, black, green, yellow, doesn't matter. If it's the belief that unites us, and that's what we've got choice over.
Yeah.
What we believe in, not which demographic we're from, you know, and jurisdiction.
100%. And I totally agree. It's just like, you know, some people ask me, like, why is it that you only focus on Muslim people?
Yeah.
And it's not that only. I mean, the last interview that I did was with a non-Muslim who's actually from Guildford as well, funnily enough. But, you know, there's just a certain, I guess, mindset that is just different. There's like a playing field, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And when you deal with Muslims, you're just on the same playing field. And whereas when you deal with non-Muslims, it's not like they look above you or below you or anything like that. But it's just like, you might be playing football, but you're playing to certain different rules. You can do a lot of different things than what we can do on our pitch.
Yeah.
And actually, our pitch, you know, is a lot cleaner, so we're a lot happier on this pitch.
Yeah.
And we don't want any of those new rules to kind of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
100%. And you're absolutely right. Yeah, we're different, right? And I'm not going to hide away about being different. I respect every single person out there. Atheist, Hindu, it doesn't really matter, but don't impose anything on me and I won't impose anything on you. And the bottom line is we will just relate to people who share the same values and beliefs. It's just natural, right? That, I think. So it's not, you know, purposely doing it. It's just you're going to be around people who you can relate to. And I relate to Muslims more than I relate to non-Muslims because of the same mindset. And that's what it is, I think.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. And again, Islamically, like we also have that, the fact that everything in Islam is logical as well. So it's like you're dealing with people, you're not dealing in fantasy when you're speaking, you're dealing with real life, real facts, you know, and your real spirituality. So alhamdulillah, that makes complete sense. And so we're at this point now. So you've chosen law, and I'm guessing at this point the law was and I guess, was that like an easier decision because of obviously the family and what they were doing, or was there still a lot of thought that you had to put into that?
It's funny because I started off doing history because I didn't want to. My brother was a lawyer; he did a law degree, you know, went on to do law further as well. And I was like, I don't want to do the same thing as him because it's like I'm just copying him. That's your mindset. I've got to do something different, you know. So I wasn't naturally inclined to law. I was actually, you know, wanted to teach. I'm passionate about teaching, coaching, and I still enjoy that now. And I think at some point I would love to do that. It was only once I started doing the course that I was doing, and if I did a history degree anywhere else, I may have stuck to history. But when you know, you're going in there wanting to learn about Pakistan partition, and you're doing, this is the Hindu caste system. I still remember, you know, Kshatriya, Vaishyas, and I'm like, I don't want to. It doesn't interest me. So yeah, the switch was probably my wife's doing more than anyone else's. Like Adil, you know, teaching history, and I didn't like the course I was doing. So yeah, when I did law, SOAS was a really fun place to do law, by the way. So I did, for example, law and society in South Asia. I did Islamic law, comparative commercial law in the Middle East. I did a thesis on anti-dowry, you know, and dowry deaths in Pakistan.
Wow.
So it was, you know, I had a lot of fun.
The best of both worlds almost.
Yeah, I felt like that. And again, my Professor Mensky, bless him, you know, if I didn't have him, I would have ended up with the third. You know, he really just sorted me out and put structure in what I was doing. So yeah, once I was on that journey then, and I was like, all right, brilliant, you know. And then, as I said, my wife sort of says I undersell this, but I'm not the cleverest, but if I'm going to do something, I'm not going to do it half. I mean, we had a chat about this, right? So, you know, when I was doing my A-levels, I didn't do the first one when my mum was ill. When I can't afford to resit or not do them again. I've done that. You only get... So I was like, let's just smash it. And I remember the exam is like writing. I had about 80, I'll kid you not, about 50 pages of, you know, and everyone's thinking, what the hell is he doing? His hands go out every 5 minutes. So smash the A-level, smash the degree, do law school. And alhamdulillah, in my second year of uni, I was offered a job. So I knew I just had to graduate with a 2 when I got a first, alhamdulillah, but I would have a job. And that's a big, big blessing, you know, because I had, you know, my first child when I was graduating. See the pictures, my son's in my hand. You know, I was a father.
MashaAllah.
By the time I completed law school, second Yahya was on the way as well. So I started work. I've got 2 kids, you know, and then at work you can't mess around as well, right? You've got responsibilities now.
So I mean, we kind of touched upon this, right, a little earlier, but you know, this is a very interesting point in your story to ask this question. Then is, what's your take? Obviously, this podcast called the Rizq podcast, right? And you're talking to me about how, you had a second child on the way when you graduated, right? And you know, for a lot of people who are in their like 30s are thinking like, how can I afford a family? Like, I still need to work, and
Yeah.
you didn't even have a job at that point, right?
Yeah.
How are you even supporting your family at this point?
Yeah.
And what was your take in terms of you know, like money and income, and you know, you got family coming in,
Yeah.
and what was your whole mindset like at that point? That's quite a brave thing to do, I
Yeah.
would say.
You know what? We're grafters, right? I think anyone from East London is going to be a grafter, right? So I had my first job when I was probably 9, paper round. I think everyone in my generation did a paper round. When I was 15, I was doing night shifts in a factory. You know, it was hard, right? We didn't have it. My dad worked in, you know, bless him, Ford Motor Company, right? And he always said, Adil, if you want to do well, study, right? But I was used to working. So when I did get married, you know, now I'm not being funny, but when there's a holiday, kids are off in Dubai doing whatever I was working. So, you know, the factory worked in B&Q when I was married, right? So I had my nikah done. Every holiday, I'm not even studying or on a holiday somewhere. It's get as many hours as you can in. And I've upgraded from B&Q, and I went to John Lewis, you know, and from there upgraded, I went to Thomas Pink. But every summer holidays, every Christmas, even Thursday evenings, whenever there's an overtime shift, I'm working. So I knew I had that in me in terms of just study, and when I'm not sure I'm working, making money. I had to thank my parents because, you know, when I did get married, I lived with my parents. You know, didn't have to pay rent, didn't have to really contribute much. Living at home, there's challenges as well. I'm not going to shy away from that. There are challenges without a shadow of doubt, but I got a lot of support by being at home. And as I said, for me, you know, we talked about this a bit earlier, you know, tawakkal Allah. So I knew I had to get married. I wanted to get married because I just was scared of messing up. And you know, the hadith, you know, marriage is 50% of your deen, and it's so true. It's so true. So I just thought, you know, if you're doing something for the right reasons, Allah will make it easy. 100% is my belief, you know. And I only said to anybody who wants to do something, if you're doing it for the right reason, tawakkal Allah, Allah will make it easy for you. And it did. I mean, you know, for me, I never thought about money. There was a point, I'll be honest, when I remember, you know, you're married, I've got my son's coming, you know, born, and you want to give your wife and your child the best, right? And I remember, you know, saying to my wife, we were walking down East Ham High Street, and I was saying, you know what, stuff uni, can work full time. John Lewis get 20 grand. And she's probably knocked a lot of sense into me a lot of the time. You know, keeps me sane and keeps me level headed, and said, no, don't be stupid. Just it'll come, sabr. You know, just keep doing what you're doing. And alhamdulillah, I did. So yeah, tawakkal Allah and family support, I guess.
Alhamdulillah, no, that's beautiful, man. I think that's a rare trait that a lot of people, we kind of, I think a lot of us have that on our tongue. We might say we have tawakkul, but actually it's in the practice of our life.
Yeah.
When you do things that are scary, but it's for the sake of Allah,
Yeah.
that's when you're showing that tawakkul in Allah. So I think that's been demonstrated quite prevalent, bro. Because yeah, like I said, a lot of people, even till this day that I know, that you know, don't want to have kids, or they don't want to get married, or they don't want to do X, Y, and Z, you know, until they've saved up a certain amount.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, my opinion, and obviously your opinion, and you know, as Muslims, we should have this notion that everything is from Allah.
100%.
Everything that is from Allah is written to to
Yeah.
come to us at a certain point. So, you know, don't do anything haram and do the halal things.
Yeah.
'Cause then there's more barakat in it as well.
100%.
So,
100%.
mashallah, man, that's beautiful. So then you graduated, right? So now you've got 2 kids, just graduated, you got a degree in law. What was your next step? How long were you unemployed for out of university? Or
Yeah, so as I said, I was alhamdulillah in my second year. I secured what we call a training contract. So I knew if I just passed my final year, I've got to do 1 year of law school. Pass it, I've got a guaranteed job, and they told you what you're going to get paid. So alhamdulillah, you know, second year I was sorted in from a job perspective. So after I graduated, it was law school. Again, 2 kids now, right? I'm still working Saturdays, Sundays, evenings. You get a small grant, but law school was tough. You know, alhamdulillah, I didn't get a distinction. I got a commendation, but with 2 kids, I think I was allowed, you know, not to
don't
get
ask me why I got my degree, bro. Whatever you got was probably better.
I'm sure you did very well, bro. But, you know, law school was good, dealt with that, and then it was, let's just start work. Again, so look, you can imagine, right? I've done uni, summer holidays working, law school, summer holidays working, start finished my summer job, and Monday I'm going to work. No 2 weeks gap. No, I'm going to chill out. Just every day was about working or doing something constructive, not to bum around or laze around. Or it wasn't about that for me. I couldn't afford to do that. So, straight after law school, no time out. Let's just get to work.
And I think if you weren't married, you didn't have the kids, I guess that would give you that excuse to actually just chill out those on the weekends and stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, go on a holiday. Now sometimes with hindsight, I think I should have taken a year out, travel the world, because you don't get a chance to do it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change anything, alhamdulillah. And I wouldn't change anything in terms of the approach. And it was just always graft. That's how, as I said, we were born and raised to just hustle and graft and work hard. I don't see any other way. To this, I'm 45 and I still don't see anything else other than got to keep working.
Yeah, and I think what you're doing now at Legal Blows is a testament to what you're saying there, actually. So, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get to that point. So tell me about the life as a solicitor in the UK when you joined. Obviously, you were practicing Muslim as well. What was that environment like for you? What was any shifts in your mindset that happened at that point?
Yeah, if anything, I became more conscious about who I was. Because in the city, right, I'm at a medium-sized city firm. We were talking about magic. I didn't want to go to the big firms because they all work crazy hours, all night, all weekend. I was like, no, that's not for me. But the culture is the same, whether you're a Magic Circle firm or a small, medium-sized city firm. I was the only Muslim, brown-faced Muslim at my firm. 9/11 happened, and that was like, I remember when it happened, walking in, and I kid you not, all eyes on me. I love Tupac, by the way. That's another story. I felt awkward, right? And I went to Umrah as well, and then I started growing the beard out a bit. It got a bit long, then it got a bit short, but I was playing around with it. And for me, an event that I will never forget. And I won't call it a racist event, although it probably was in today's world. I had a beard, right? We had a fire alarm go off. And I was, finishing what I was doing. I was probably called. I was a bit late, and everyone's standing outside, when they congregate outside where the fire area is. And I came out a bit late, and this is the managing partner's husband, a senior equity partner, highest as you get, right? White guy, braces, full pinstripes, there's about 30 odd people there. And I said, "Oh, Adil, I thought your beard had caught on fire." And, I can take banter and I'll give it as good as I get, but I was a trainee, I was 21, 22, right? You've got all of these people all laughing at my expense, and I felt that small. And I just felt, again, like I can't work in this environment. And then, I saw other trainees having a really good laugh with their partners and their supervisors. And I'm thinking, they're not like that with me. And then you realize it's because they're going to the pub every Friday night or the wine, and I wasn't having none of that. No, I'm not going to do that. And I felt as I needed to, as if I had to just get out, and I actually resigned. And I resigned thinking I'm going to work for an Indian firm with lots of Muslim lawyers. It was Boleyn & Co. in Stratford. And I thought, forget this city life, not for me. And alhamdulillah, again, Allah makes things easy for you. If it was good, it would have happened. It wasn't good. It wasn't the best thing for me. And I remember the partner sort of saying, "Where are you going?" No way. And he ripped up my resignation. I went to Hajj, made Hajj as well, I think a year after that event. And then you had to get out. Even though, I stayed, I knew I had to get out, and I thought I had to get out. Now I'm thinking, I've got to get out the country. Forget the job, I want to get out the country. Went to Hajj. And I was saying, there's a few things that you really pray from your heart. I made loads of du'as, don't get me wrong, for my wife, my kids, my parents, and all that. But if there's one thing I probably cried from the heart was, "Ya Allah, let me get out of this country." And I kid you not, I'm not just making that up, I swear. I wasn't looking at emails or anything like that. It wasn't the days when you had, iPhones or Blackberries. It was just, I probably had a Nokia, one of those, brick ones. If I had a mobile, I can't remember. But I said to my wife, keep an eye on emails, because I had started applying for jobs in the Middle East. And I remember speaking to my wife one day, and she said, "Adil, you've got an email and you've got an interview for a position in Bahrain." This was whilst I was at Hajj. So alhamdulillah, I did my Hajj, came back, interviewed, and I was offered a job. I can't believe it, because I was a property lawyer doing commercial property. The job I applied for was an Islamic finance position, and I had zero experience. And I remember going into that interview, you know, and they're asking me what kind of experience and all of this. And I said, again, just play it very straight back. It was like, I haven't got any experience. I'm a property lawyer, but give me an opportunity and I will learn. I'll do it well and I'll do it really well. And they just took a punt on me, if I'm honest. And alhamdulillah, you know, got the job and I was flying out to Bahrain. Yeah, well, again, this was, when was this? 2005. So that was, yeah. Then from Pennington's, it was, yeah, to
Mashallah. I'm just thinking back to just comparatively speaking, I just was starting sixth form in 2005.
Right.
So just to make you feel a little bit old.
Oh gosh, the grey hairs gives you all away.
Exactly. So alhamdulillah, so now you're in Bahrain now, and you're working in the Middle East for an Islamic finance company. Talk to me about your journey over these next kind of, I guess from that point till where we are today. Then in terms of your journey, you mentioned you came back to the UK as well. What type of, talk to me about the Islamic finance scene actually. So there's a lot of, I guess, unknowns I think with Islamic finance. I mean, even with myself, when I think of Islamic finance, all I can really think of is like an Islamic mortgage, and then my only thought to that is, oh well, Islamic mortgage is basically the same thing as interest, right? They've just changed the wording around, and you know, instead of interest, this is the value that we're putting on, which is at the same interest rate, right? So that's kind of how I see it, right? I mean, this isn't really about Islamic finance, but you have that experience, so it'd be good to just get you some information.
I think there's two things I would say about Bahrain. So when I was making this dua, I thought, Allah, let me go out. It wasn't, let me go to the Middle East so I can earn more money, be successful. It was about, I wanted to get away from this environment. So when I was in the UK, I had, as I said, two boys, and Musa was just born as well, funny enough. Yeah, he was just born. I had two kids, one at school, Al-Noor School in Good Maze, really good school, and my second was in the Islamic nursery. Get to Bahrain, and I'm thinking, Muslim country, alhamdulillah, yeah, this is brilliant. Then I find out there's no Islamic schools there. There's no Islamic school, English-speaking Islamic schools.
Right.
So I either send them to an English curriculum school with where they teach whatever, or you put them into an Arabic school. And I did put my son into an Arabic school, and he was called Hindi boy. It was racist. There was no two ways about it. Bless him, he was small, man. And I, you know, when I feel about what he went through, you know, we should leave him there because I had other kids and all at different schools, and leave him there, and he had his Quran in his hand, you know, just reading. But he wasn't happy. But bless him, he never said once he wasn't happy. As a parent, you know, and we took him out, and I took all of them out of their schools and put them into an English curriculum school. So it wasn't that Islamic environment. Wow. It wasn't actually, it was worse Islamic than the UK, honestly. And then I remember doing my first sort of client dinner, right, in Bahrain, and we had this place called the Ritz Carlton, right? Lovely resort, sort of nice restaurant. It's probably a Thursday evening because the weekend was Friday, Saturday. So Thursday evening, so work lunch, Islamic finance, right? We're doing, so your clients are Muslims, and I go into this restaurant, and you got, you know, mashallah, these brothers with the thawbs, the guthras and all this, and there's pina colada and this cocktail, and I'm thinking, but they've got thawbs on. They've got, yeah, for me, naive, right? Just really naive. I didn't clock that you've got all types of, I'm not having to go at anyone, everyone to their own, but it wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting coming into an Islamic environment where I did not realize that alcohol would be so freely available. I didn't realize that you'd have Muslims in the thawb, what we would, before I was in the Middle East, associate with religious attire. So anyone wearing a thawb and you're religious, that's the default, right? It's not cultural dress. Like, you know, like if we wear salwar kameez, no one's gonna say you're a religious Pakistani. You're a Pakistani wearing salwar. That's how it is with, you know. So that was a rude awakening for me. And just, it was probably naivety my end. But you get used to that. And then again, what I realized really quickly, being in that sort of environment, Islam is in your household. You've got to make it strong in your household. If you're strong in there, then whatever's outside, you can't hide away from it. We're in this world. We're here to integrate. And I think I've learned that. You can't keep your kids away from everything. You know, they're going to see it, expose them to it, but tell them who we are. And, you know, I'm not one for now keeping things away from the kids. I just, again, everyone to their own, but not for me. I think I learned that the hard way. On the Islamic finance side, so look, I'll be honest, I don't want to sidetrack too much on it, but I'll give you one example. So I was from a property background. There's a very famous scholar, a guy called Sheikh Nizam Yaqubi, Bahraini guy, right? He's got a whole lot of other businesses, right? So I was new to this. I look at my first Islamic finance document and I'm thinking, London interbank offer. This is profit. Economic outcome is exactly the same. So I remember going to the sheikh. He's got in the souk. He's got a shop, right, of selling electrical stuff. And at the back is his desk with sky high of papers and everything. You've got a row of bankers and lawyers out to see him. It's fascinating, honestly. So I remember queuing up, waiting my turn, and then I just was very honest. I'm young, naive, right? I said to him, Sheikh, look, sorry, but I'm new to this, and I've looked at this Islamic agreement and this conventional interest-based agreement, and other than the first 5-10, it looks exactly the same. What's going on? I want to do Islamic finance. And he gave this example, and I say that every time I speak at a conference about Islam, I give this. Again, I'm not going to knock anyone who says it's rubbish or it's 100% perfect. But for me, it's, this is the way I look at it after hearing this example. The sheikh said to me, Adil, do you like steak? I said, yeah, I love steak. Yeah, I like steak. How do you like it cooked? I said, medium rare, with a bit of black pepper sauce. And he went, okay. So he said, if I just, there's a cow in the middle of one of my fields here, kill it, just shoot it with an arrow and cook you the steak. Are you going to eat it? I said, no. He goes, why not? I said, you haven't slaughtered, it's not halal, right? He goes, okay, same cow, same everything. I say, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. Slaughter it, cook you the same steak, medium rare, peppercorn sauce on the side, exactly the same as this other one. Would you eat it? I said, yeah. And he said, Adil, I've said 3 words. Bismillah, and you've done a full 360. It tastes exact. So the point he was making was substance, form, little requirements from Sharia make something from haram to halal, right? So again, I don't question their wisdom or their sincerity, because who are we to judge? People say scholars for dollars, they sign off on whatever because they're getting paid. Who are we to judge what's in that man's heart or anyone else's? So for me, it was like, okay, you know what? Makes a bit of sense. The economic outcome on the Islamic finance transactions, I'll be honest with you, is exactly the same as a conventional. You probably pay more if you're going Islamic, right? Again, that's a separate story, but there are fundamental differences. It's not the same. So to anyone who says to me, I've got problems with Islamic finance, I think it's not, a bit of smokes and mirrors, I'll say, yeah, you know what? It's not perfect, 100%. But if someone says to me, it's exactly the same as Quran, I'll say, no, it's not. And then we can have a discussion about, it's not. But again, I was fortunate to get into that world just because, I'm in the Middle East now. My clients are Islamic banks or customers who are wanting Islamic financing. You're not going to go out to a dinner most of the time where there's alcohol being served. That was a big blessing for me. I could just do what I wanted to do without worrying. The mosque, you're praying, you're going to a client meeting. One of my good clients, some really good brothers, they have a place called Kuwait Finance House. I used to love going for meetings with them. Why? Because if it's prayer time, everyone's dropping what they're doing. It's Salah time. Read the Namaz. So massive benefits of being in Bahrain. Fast forward very quickly. After 3 years, I've been in Bahrain. Had a great time. But, maybe I got itchy feet. It's a small island. Population then was about 350,000. You could see the whole island in about 40 minutes, Bump into everyone everywhere you go. On a Sunday, for example, or whenever the weekend is, you're out in your slippers and shorts and you haven't done your hair and you're going to meet one of your most important clients in the group. It's like, oh man, really? Yeah, but that's what it was about. So after, I was getting sort of itchy feet, and then one of my clients, he was going to be the CEO of a new Islamic bank in the UK, a bank called Gatehouse Bank. And I'd done a lot of work with this guy at his institution, and he said, Adil, come join the bank. It's a new bank, and come as head of legal. And I was like a 4.5-year PQ. You don't get a head of legal position at that time. And, I was like, I've done 3 years. It's good. Mum and dad are back home, and, I was missing family. And you think, I've done it. I've done my 3 years. And it's a good position. They were paying me I wasn't taking a hit, even though it would be taxed there. So I thought, and it's different, right? I was at a law firm before who do lots of different things. Islamic finance was one thing. This is an Islamic bank. So I came back to the UK in 2008. And I learned something very quickly. One, it wasn't for me. I love what I do, but give me an IT contract, an employment contract. I'm like, what's that all about? I don't do that. It's a much broader role. The other thing I learned was didn't like paying tax. We get spoiled, right? You getting taxed 40%, bro. You think you're getting paid well, and then you're like, where's that going for? Someone collecting my bins, and I'm paying like whatever I'm paying for. Someone didn't like that, and I hated the commute. I hated the weather. But more than anything, this was a time where financial crisis, it wasn't a good time for banking lawyers, for banks. And I was, the bank wasn't doing so well. And I thought before they asked me to go, I'm going to go back. And I thought, what do I know? I know the Middle East. And that's when I applied back. Ideally, I would have gone back to Bahrain or Dubai. But again, financial crisis, right? So one of the partners who I used to work for is a very close friend as well of mine now. Approached him and he said, there's nothing in Dubai. How about Saudi? I thought, yeah, why not? Like, again, you hear horror stories, right? And I thought, I'm Muslim, I don't drink, I don't do... Saudi's a different place now, but back then it was pretty hardcore, right? But yeah, you don't pray and you're getting collared. You're a woman and you're not wearing headscarf. You're getting pulled in the jeep or you're getting a scarf forced upon you. That back in that day. But anyway, this was 2009. So I joined this other firm. I spent 1 month in Dubai. Then I went to Riyadh, set up the Riyadh office. Again, doing Islamic finance, but the role was broader. Saudi was challenging from a professional perspective because it's not slick as the UK or Dubai, right? For example, people, if you're at lunchtime, we used to have a 2-hour lunch break. Do your prayer, have a kailula, lovely. But if I've got a call at 2:30 and I want to come back, there's no one in the office. I don't know where the keys are. The internet's not working. So from a professional perspective, not great, but the work was there. So I went in as a senior associate. After 12 hours, alhamdulillah, I was made promoted to partner, which was brilliant. But yeah, I would say I had a really good time there in terms of from a professional perspective, as a made partner. But for me, the highlight of being in Saudi was the ability to get to Umrah whenever you wanted to go, Mecca and Medina. And one of the biggest blessings was that I took my mum and dad at the time, when they have the visas are closed, right, for tourists because after Hajj, because they're cleaning and all of this. So I got my mum and dad to come over on a family visit visa. My mum's in a wheelchair, right? We did Umrah. She touched the black stone, kissed the Kaaba. My dad did that. And, again, the du'as that you get from your parents, if there's anything I would say to anybody, do your best with them. And look, I don't do enough. I know that. And I hope they're happy with me. I don't know if they are, if I'm absolutely honest, right? Because certain sacrifice you make when you live away, but I know wherever I am today, my parents have got, if not everything to do it, a lot to do with it. It's their dua. So, having that opportunity to take them there and do that means a lot to me. And I think for them as well, it was something special. So yeah, Saudi was challenging in many respects from a professional perspective, but from personal, it was brilliant. So that was then, and then, 2012, we closed down the Saudi office for one reason or the other. Went to Abu Dhabi, 5 years there. Abu Dhabi, we loved Abu Dhabi. I don't know if have you?
I used to live there.
You used to, okay.
I used to live by the Corniche, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know where Al Bateen Executive Airport is?
I don't know that well.
Okay, so this is in the middle of the island, right?
Okay.
But we were like 20 minutes from, Abu Dhabi Mall and 20 minutes from Yas.
I was a kid, by the way. Just that.
Okay, right. So you won't remember.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Abu Dhabi was lovely because I feel it was very cultured and balanced between Bahrain and Dubai. I mean, living in Dubai now. Dubai is all glitz, glam, and a bit artificial. You could be anywhere but in the Muslim world. For me, Abu Dhabi was a lovely place to grow up, bring up the kids. It was green. It was, you work hard, but when you're out of work, it was like everything just chills. I loved it. It was a family-oriented place.
Yeah, although it was very much that actually, when I think about it, it's very much the kind of archetypal what people want from the Middle East, isn't it? It's like you get whatever you want.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's not like Dubai where you can get whatever you want, but you kind of have to stay away from certain places. You know what I mean? Dubai, you can get good, you can get bad, but I think overall you still see a lot of fitna. Whereas in Abu Dhabi, it's a lot more family friendly, isn't it?
100%. If you in Abu Dhabi, all of that I'm sure exists, but you've got, as you said, you've got to go out and find it. It's not apparent.
Yeah,
it's not apparent. So Abu Dhabi was brilliant. So, gosh, I was there for 4 years, but in 2017, wife and kids decided to bring them back to the UK. So kids were at a stage where uni and all of that, and we all thought they were going to go. Our kids going to go to London universities, right? We were from London anyway. That's when we brought a place here in Woking initially, and we thought kids are going to go to London. It's a good base, bit nice suburban, all of that. And then, as I've said to you before, the eldest went to Durham, one's in Spain now, third's in Liverpool, and my wife and my daughter on their own. So, in hindsight, maybe we didn't need to come back. We only came back for the kids. So I was in, the family back here. I was in Abu Dhabi for a couple of years. COVID broke out. And I remember during COVID, a lot of my work was in Dubai, right? To get from Abu Dhabi to Dubai, you had to do a COVID test every, these PCR things. Every time you go on the on the causeway thing.
So sticking swabs up your nose.
Yeah, my
every
nose
day.
couldn't handle it anymore. I was like, I can't be dealing with this. So I just thought, I was spending 3 days in Dubai anyway.
Yeah.
I thought I'm just going to go to Dubai. So that's when I moved to Dubai, and I've been there since 2020.
So it was the nose.
It was the nose thing. I actually, in fairness, I actually now haven't been in Dubai I prefer Dubai now on my own. My family was with me, definitely Abu Dhabi. But for someone who's living a sort of bachelor life, can't cook to save my life, lazy and need loads of different places, you've got a lot of things, and work is there as well. So Dubai is not so bad. And now, as I was saying, I've got alhamdulillah a masjid open a stone throw away from me, which is a godsend to me, honestly. Like, we were talking about, praying at home is one thing, but just being able to get to the masjid, just for my mental health, for me, the masjid is the best place. And I would challenge anyone, Muslim or non-Muslim, spend 5-10 minutes in the mosque, just sit down. You don't have to pray if you're not Muslim. Spend 5 minutes, just soak it up, and you come back refreshed, and everything puts itself into perspective.
Yeah, do you know what? When you said that earlier, I was going to say something I completely forgot, and it just came to my mind again now, actually, which is I completely agree with that. And the other thing that I've always thought is that if a person was to just do wudu 5 times a day, even just doing wudu would sort your life out so much. You know what I mean? Like your mental health, your discipline, all these things. Just the wudu itself. I mean, and then obviously going to the masjid is just a completely different energy, different vibe. So I completely agree.
And that whole, again, just touching upon this, if I may, this whole connection we've got and what we're about, right? And we talked about having choices. You can't choose the color of your skin. You can't choose which country you're born in. What you can choose is your values and set of beliefs that you have, right? So Islam, whilst I said, mum was a big influence, my approach and taking is completely opposite to what my mum's views are and family's views are. But that's for me. And I think religion, in many respects, is personal, right? You do what you're. So I may pray like this. I may say, I mean, loud. If someone, fine, you do what you're comfortable with. But if we didn't have religion and this belief, you tell me, how does anybody deal with the death of a family member, or my mother having a stroke, or we didn't touch about me slipping a disc and being this fit, sort of healthy guy, and then being humbled and thinking, do I say, why does why did someone else have to die? Why this? What? It's from God. When someone passes away, this one of the ayahs, it sticks in my every soul shall taste death. We know this. And that inshallah they're going to a better place. For your mental health, that understanding is pivotal. So now, being alone in Dubai, right? Alhamdulillah, it's my choice, right? I've made that choice and there's benefits of it, Alhamdulillah, I'm providing for my family, I'm doing well, all of that. But it's not easy. It's not easy. Being alone, away from who I love the most, your mom and dad, family, it's hard. And there's nights, bro, where I cry myself to sleep, thinking I'm away from my mom. I've got responsibilities as a son. It eats me up. My wife, she's blessed, doing what she's doing, away from my, kids. My daughter, who missed her growing up, she's 15 now, but, I've been away. That's hard, right? But I've chose to do that. And if you're emotionally weak, or you haven't got this understanding of, there's some khair in this, that's what keeps you going. And that's why we handle situations, or it helps me handle situations. Otherwise, you're going to just be complaining, thinking, why this, why that? And, so it's just religion's such a beautiful thing. And Islam is such a beautiful thing because it puts everything into perspective. So if you are faced with a calamity or a loss, this is from Allah. You can't argue, if you believe that, you're not going to complain about it, right? You're going to say there's khair and there's good in it. So just that sort of understanding, I think.
No, definitely, bro. And just speaking personally, I know that there was a couple of years recently that were very difficult, very, very difficult. Big test was, my whole life was being tested. And I remember every day, it was it was a hard struggle. Every day I would just say to myself, I would actually say Alhamdulillah, and I would thank God. Even though like some days I'd be like it's almost like the worst anyone could ever be, And I would just say like in a very difficult way, I'd just be like, Alhamdulillah, I know you've got something better for me.
Yeah.
I know you're doing this so that I can be stronger. I know that you're
Yeah.
doing this to take people away. All these things.
Yeah, 100%.
And wallahi, if I was a Muslim, there'd be no fear of me, for example, taking my own life.
Yeah.
Now, there's a fear.
Yeah.
Like if I was to do this, that's easy. That would help a lot of things. But then I've got the big man to go see.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be happy with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
So
it keeps you in check.
it keeps you in
not,
check.
Yeah.
So
And
alhamdulillah.
I'll give you another example, and I think I touched upon this, right? So, we all have our ups and downs, as you've said, right? No one's perfect. I'm not perfect. We try our best, and we're gonna fall short sometimes. But again, the blessing and the beauty of Islam is, even though you've slipped up, Allah's the Rahman, the Rahim. He's the merciful, the most beneficial, the most merciful. And we expect to be forgiven. We expect it because we've got too many shortcomings. But Allah is the best of forgivers, right? So when again, as I said, you go in various stages. This is 2018, right? I remember you go through this phase. Right? Well, what I should have mentioned, one thing in the Middle East, you can put on a lot of weight, bro. Right? So I remember going there, and you sort of see, and I've got a massive sweet tooth. So you go in these buffets and this Ramadan tents, and you got this spread. So I kid you not, man, I blew up to about 98 kg. So just massive, and then sorted it out eventually. Still not great, but coming back to topic, there was a time I started, when I started to get a bit fit and getting into exercise, I was training, bro, 6 days a week, 3 hours a day, right? Even when I went, but I wouldn't say looking like, chiseled and all that, nothing. I was too old for that, but I was feeling good, right? And you think I'm getting into this regime of training. And I kid you not, I stopped praying Fajr for a time. Why? Because I was training with the trainer. He said, Adil, if you don't get 7 hours solid sleep, don't come to the gym. I work a lot, right? So I was sleeping at 11, 12, 1, Fajr's at 4. I can't get up, man, because I'll pray when I get up. So I went, honestly, God forgive me, but went through this phase of can't pray Fajr because I need to train in the morning. And if I don't train in the morning, I can't train because of my busy lifestyle, right? So didn't pray Fajr. I was getting off planes, just exercise. Next thing I'm thinking, gosh, I'm going to look at me. You look in the mirror and you're nothing special, but in your head you're something like. And that's when I was in Woking, in the gym, just went to pick up a barber, and 3 clicks and my back's gone.
Allah.
And I was just lying there. And it didn't register then as well, right? Because I eventually got up, the paramedic sort of said muscle spasm, whatever. And I was like, okay, this is good, right? I've gone through a regime of training so hard, right? And I thought, I didn't go to hospital that day because Liverpool were playing Manchester United. And I was like, just get me home when I watch the game. And they said to me, it's a spasm, right? So anyway, I got home. I was just chilling. I was eating all the crap that I wanted, thinking it'll be a week or 2, I'll be fine. It wasn't getting any better. I mean, I got back, I did a flight back to Abu Dhabi standing. I couldn't sit for more than 20 minutes, right? I still hadn't clocked what was going on. I thought I'd be fine. Only when I started getting sciatic pain, I thought, let me get an x-ray done. Saw the x-ray, and my disc is like, right in there. Did the MRI, you got a slip disc and this, that, and the other. And I thought, oh, man, this ain't no quick fix. They said, it just takes a long time, and you can't do this, you can't do that. And I kid you not, I did forget gym, training, running, playing with the kids. Bro, I couldn't pray doing sujood. My forehead couldn't touch the floor. That killed me. That I was praying, alhamdulillah, I thought, I knew in my head, I knew this happened because I was missing my prayers. I was missing my prayer, and I was putting so much into training and eating and forget everything else. I know I neglected my Islam and my prayers. And I knew, I I didn't complain. I was like, alhamdulillah. And it's the best thing that happened. Why? It could have been a heart attack. It could have been a stroke. I could have been taught a lesson. So I was like, alhamdulillah. But from that moment, it's like, I'm not going to, we always miss prayers now, but intent in no way. And it's like, and when you can't do sujood, bro, it kills you. When you can't, and that was devastating. Honestly, I can't even put it in words. And for about 2.5 years, I was praying, and it didn't feel like I was praying. When you're not touching your foot, it doesn't seem like prayers. Alhamdulillah, thank God, I'm better now. I'm sitting, look, and I'm praying normally. And that's why that sort of lesson, if you like, it was, you know what, nothing, forget everything. Look and take it like that. Your wealth, your health, everything. Just be, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, but when deep down, we're talking about God is there, God is always looking. If you're not doing your prayer, even though I wasn't, you're still feeling guilty. And when something happens, which isn't what you expected, or on the face, it isn't something good. God forbid you get, robbed, you get burned, you get an injury or whatever. If you're praying 5 times and you're doing your best, you think this is a test from Allah. Allah's testing you. If you're not doing what you're meant to be doing or trying, I'm thinking this is punishment for Allah. I deserve it, and I'm not going to deserve. So now you have things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen, right? But I know in my head mentally, I'm thinking, you know what? It's a test from Allah. It's not a Inshallah, it's not a punishment. Do you see? So that just
100%.
doing that just makes a lot of sense.
It's funny when you say that, because it's like when people go for Hajj or Umrah, and they I don't know if this is what you do as well, but this is something that people have said to me, is that we don't want to shave our head.
Yeah.
Right. We just clip it off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? You're like, bro, like, my hair, like how long it's been, like how I need to keep it like this. And I just say, subhanAllah, who gave you that hair?
Yeah.
Who gave you the hair?
Yeah.
Who's giving you this full head of hair in your head that you love so much that you don't want to sacrifice it for the person who gave it to you?
100%.
Like, and I just think, like, are you not scared in your mind that God will test you with that thing and take it away from you? You know what I mean?
You know what? It's a really good point, because we've all got, and I'll be honest, like I did Umrah recently with Hamzah and his father and his friends, and mashallah, those brothers shaved it off. I knew I had to go, and I didn't do it.
Okay.
Right? So again, whilst I talk about prayers and all this, as I say, I'm not perfect. You try, right? And one of the things that I was talking about, you cry yourself at night. Am I a good son? Am I a good Muslim? Am I doing? Because we know the amount of time I spend at work. Now on some of these boxing stuffs. Wait, shouldn't I be doing that? Worshipping my Lord, worshipping my Creator, growing a longer beard, growing. There's levels, right, bro? There's levels to all of this. And again, I'm not saying I'm perfect. There's people who are much more pious than I will ever be. But as I keep going back to this, I know my shortcomings, and I'm still expecting of being forgiven. Why? Because Allah's there. And that's not to say don't do anything, but everyone gets, as I said, we're not perfect, right? Someone's, might struggle for example, for the long bed. Someone may struggle doing their sunnah, and some may struggle with whatever. But we've got to keep trying. So and this is it. So you talk about the hair, right? I should have done it. And I think that the issue becomes when, you get people who get defensive. No, it's not have to. Man, just, what?
That's what it is,
Yeah, I'm not perfect. I should have shaved it, man. Allah forgive me. And inshallah next time, or your trousers aren't, but you know what? Maybe you're right. Inshallah next, Allah give it. My beard's not long. But again, that sort of, I think it's so personal. You and to Allah, you to, I mean, that Allah will deal with you according to whatever you can, bear and all of that. So, that's the beauty of Islam again, right? And I give this example not to show that you can do whatever you want and Allah will forgive you, but there's I don't know if it's a hadith or hadith Qudsi, right? But about the prostitute who gave the dog water, and was taken to heaven because of that. I mean, I'm not saying that just to shortcut and do whatever you want. Well, all I'm saying is, who are we to judge? So if someone's not shaving, someone hasn't got a beard, someone's not wearing a headscarf, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Some of the nicest people I've met are clean shaven, not wearing the hijab, and the kindest of souls. Who knows what Allah will like about them? So who am I with my shortcomings, my own issues and everything, the sins that I commit? Who am I to say, look at that person, it doesn't do this, doesn't do that? Nah, man, that's between them and God. Who knows what Allah likes about them? So I'm a big believer, so let your actions talk rather than talk. And also, don't talk to me about religion and whatever if you're doing X, Y, and Z, because I won't listen. It's sad, maybe, even though you're talking, if you're telling me, that you need to pray, you need to do this, and your beard's not long enough, and then you're swearing your head off down and you're stealing, cheating, not keep it to yourself. I don't want to know,
It's like taking financial advice off a homeless person. And
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They might have reached that poor dad. But like, are you really going to listen to the guy? Like,
exactly.
Probably not.
Exactly.
So alhamdulillah. And I think what's important is what you said, is that it's like that humility of like, look, I know that I didn't do 100%,
Yeah.
But I'm not sitting here saying that I did do 100%.
Yeah,
And you're
exactly.
doing 110%.
Yeah.
You know, no, it's like, okay, I know I should have prayed.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I had an excuse.
Yeah.
I just didn't.
Yeah.
God forgive me and
Yeah.
God give me hidayah to
Isn't
do,
that
you
better,
know?
right? Than someone
100%.
who says, you know, I've wronged and I ask Allah to forgive me, rather than someone say, I ain't done nothing wrong. If you don't accept you've done something wrong, you're never going to ask for forgiveness. So how's Allah going to forgive you if you don't ask?
100%.
So I'd rather be saying, yeah, I'm bad. I've got shortcomings. Allah forgive me, rather than, who can say they're perfect, man? Even no one does that. Anyway.
And something just to kind of before we segue on to legal blows, something that came into my head that I thought is good to share is just in terms of that mercy that you're talking about. And you mentioned the hadith about the prostitute who gave water to the dog, and Allah forgave her and granted Jannah. Even Fir'aun, when he was chasing Musa alayhi salam, and the waters had been lifted, and when Fir'aun had realized, there was a point where Fir'aun realized what he had done. When the waters coming to crash in on him and all of his army, the waters coming in, he realized, okay, I've done wrong. And what Jibreel alayhi salam did was he came down and with his wing, he flung mud onto the face of Fir'aun, because Jibreel alayhi salam feared that he would do his shahada and Allah would forgive him. And Jibreel alayhi salam, I did that because I hated him so much that I didn't want Allah to forgive Fir'aun in case he declared that there's only one God. So, and this is the reason why that's so powerful, is Jibreel alayhi salam knows Allah better than anyone else. And so he knows the capacity for forgiveness. So if he's worried that, look, he
Someone
might forgive Fir'aun, I don't want him to forgive Fir'aun. I'm going to make sure he doesn't even say the words. So subhanAllah, I think, alhamdulillah. But look, I think there's been a beautiful discussion, and actually this has been the discussion that time has slipped away so quickly. No. What I mean by that is, it's been about an hour and 10, and it feels like it's been about 10 minutes, alhamdulillah. So I say that in all, joy and love of this conversation.
Well, they say when you're having fun time flies and all of that, but I don't know if it's fun. It's just been interesting. And
it's very interesting, But I think the main reason that we're sat down here today is not because of the amazing career that you have had, but it's actually because of the new, I guess, journey that you've set yourself on. And, you mentioned, obviously, you went to Umrah with Hamzah, and you're referring to Hamzah Sheeraz there. Hamzah Sheeraz obviously being a future world champion boxer, inshallah. I think everybody knows that. And it's just a matter of him putting in the work and consistency and following through with that. And the world is his oyster, inshallah. So how do you know, like, bro, like, you're a lawyer in the Middle East. Okay, solicitor in the Middle East. How did you end up going to Umrah with Hamzah? Who is Hamzah to you? What's going on, bro? Like, what's this?
It's crazy, isn't it? Like, if 6 months ago, if someone said I'll be at Umrah with Hamzah and meeting Amir Khan and Naseem Hamid, and I wouldn't have believed myself, right? So look, let me put a bit of context, right? So I'm a lawyer, worked hard, we're given all that, but I love sport, football and boxing. Two things since a young age. I'm a big Liverpool fan, right?
Good man.
So, I knew we had something. I knew I liked you from the minute we spoke. Matt, he's got knows his pedigree. We won't talk about how they're doing this season, but so love football and boxing. Two things that, two sports I really, really loved. And I won't focus on the football, I'll focus on the boxing. So,
not this season, at least.
Yeah, not this season as well. Maybe we'll go back to 2020, right? Talk about that. But yeah, when I was young, I had never seen Muhammad Ali fight. Right, it was before my time, but I knew of Muhammad Ali. I've watched the Rumble in the Jungle, God knows how many times, right? The Fraser fights and all that Muhammad Ali stood for, right? How big was he in Pakistan? He was adored, right? Why? He was the greatest and the best boxer, but you listen to him, he's a sheikh in my opinion. He was the way he, as a da'i, someone who gives dawah, and he was brilliant. That was second to none. Really, put Islam on the map. If you're proud, unapologetic, I'm Muslim, tell it how it is. And that stuff, we resonate with that. Again, he's not a Pakistani. What attracted people like me to Muhammad Ali? We love our boxing, but he was an elite boxer, true to himself and his religion. And he was not shy about proclaiming it. And that's what draws you, whether you're black, brown, or white. It's what you say and how you are, right, as an individual. So that was Muhammad Ali, right? Then we had, Naseem Hamid. And I've never ever, even at that, times are hard, right? Pay-per-views, there's 2 boxers I've paid to watch on TV, by Naseem and Amir. Only 2. So Naseem, when we're seeing he's a flashy guy, right? And there's a bit of, all of this stuff coming off. And then there's in the middle of the ring with Warren Buffett, Ashhadu Allah ilaha. Man, that's goosebump stuff. Again, I just want to reiterate, right? He's not a Pakistani, and I don't want anyone to see it and say, this is a British Pakistani Muslim. No, this is a Muslim thing. Let's be clear. So with Naseem, you see him goosebumps, and you think man, what a guy. Again, people say, yeah, but he's doing the music, he's doing the dancing. Forget that. Why are you focusing on the negative, man? Focus on the positive that he's doing. That's what I'm see the glass half full. So that was inspiring, right? So we see him, and he carried on in that vein. And I'll talk about the recent meetings with him. But this is a flashy kid, really good, and this is on the largest stage. Hats off to him, inspiring, and I thought brilliant. Then you had Amir, right? Amir was just a phenomenal boxer, and it's fun because I'll talk about it. I met him recently, and Amir was one of those kids. When you get emotionally invested in someone, and I said this to him. I said he probably hears it from everyone. Every time he was taking a blow, we all took a blow for him. We were all there. We were all, Ya Allah, don't let him. The Maidana fight, I've seen that about a million times. I just remember getting in the gym and having it on and getting inspired by the way he was just dealing with his stuff, So phenomenal boxer. Again, British, Pakistani, but Muslim as well, right? So, and it was just, he was brilliant. So, really enjoyed watching him. So I watch boxing a lot, and I'm a content junkie. So when I'm not working, I've got the YouTube, and I will listen to pre-fight, post-fight, you name it, So we're watching, I think I see Hamzah fight. I can't remember which one it was now. Was it the Skeet fight or one before that, I think? And I thought, this kid's good, mashallah, he's good. And then he comes and does his post, and alhamdulillah, I thought, okay, Then I start YouTubing, and he's done this, a few podcasts, and he's like, alhamdulillah, sort of. Man, what a good kid, really good boxer, and humble, and it was bizarre, but I've got an Insta account which I've had for many years. It's called Fat to Fit, but only my wife and kids are friends on that because I put posts of me being really fat and skinny. So anyway, on that one, I reached out to Hamzah's Insta and I said, Hamzah, I think you're a really good boxer. I'm based in the Middle East, and I know a few people who might be able to help. And I just sent it, and I sent an email as well. Half thinking I've never got any response, right? The guy's a busy guy, doing his thing. And then bless his sister, Shifa. And this is, again, family, man, is so important. If family's got your back, no one will have your back as much as family has. So his sister emailed me saying, I didn't know it was his sister then. He's saying, oh, Kamran, his father will call you. And I thought, I got a response. This is crazy, And lo and behold, next day, Kamran calls me, and we have a brief chat, and I said, listen, come around, we'll have a proper chat, And then he did come around on the Monday, and we spoke, and and I'm thinking, again, this is a father, right, looking out for his son. I could have been anyone. I could have been a waste man, just wanting to get Hamzah to come. I did want Hamzah to come, and his breathing was like, nah, I'm coming on my own, So anyway, he come, we have a good discussion, and as it happened, he was going to be in Dubai in a couple of weeks. So, I met him, we had a good chat, and I said, when you're in Dubai, let me know. Anyway, he came to Dubai. Haven't met Hamzah yet as well, right? So I just introduced him to a few people that I knew. Because, look, one thing I've learned about boxing is it's expensive. Even, training camps, the nutrition side of the physio, it's expensive, man. And, so they, were trying to just get some sponsorship deals or whatever. And I thought, I couldn't promise anything. All I could say is, know a few people, let me just... Anyway, we started, meeting with people. Nothing really happened, if I'm honest. We had some good conversations, but nothing more than that. But these guys, Kamran in particular, I think he knew that I just wanted to help. And I did want to help. As a really good kid, and I hadn't even met him. And then they were, the first time I spoke with Hamzah, hope you won't mind me saying this, but he was on the Zoom because I'm speaking to his father, and he said, oh, Hamzah, I'll introduce you to him. I was in Dubai then. So Hamzah comes on. I was like, hey, Hamzah, and he's got this, like he's having a stare down with someone. He's just looking at me, not blinking. And my name's Adil, I'm trying to help. And I went, okay, you know what? Give it back to your dad. I shit myself. I was like, this guy doesn't like me. Honestly, he was just, pretty ice cold, you know. So at this stage, I've got a rapport with his dad, and we spent time in Dubai. Anyway, so I'm thinking, let's just carry on doing it. Then they tell me they're going to Umrah, and I'm based in the Middle East, right? I hadn't been up for. Let me see what these kids are really about. And I went to Umrah with them, and I kid you not, bro, I'm an old man, I'm 45, right? And, I've got a bad back. I did one Umrah, and I did one tawaf on the upper level, and I was shot. I was gone. And bless these boys, and I'll give a shout out to his friends, Abdul, Sama, and Ali. These kids, and Hamzah, Hamzah was there as well. These boys, mashallah, Allah bless them. I lost count of the amount of umrahs they did, how many tawafs they did. This wasn't clickbait, taking a photo in front of the Kaaba, and they were on it. I see these boys, the way they were listening. We had a religious scholar with us as well, and he was explaining, and I see how attentive they were, even though he was speaking in Urdu most of the time. I see Hamzah having, when we were going to Badr, putting on the YouTube learning. And I thought, this is the real deal. I'm not saying, again, they're perfect, they're not perfect, but when you see them, and I thought, you know what? I got emotionally invested with them, Kamran, probably his friends, and Hamzah, thinking I've got to just try, and we got on well, and it's funny, we sent an email out. It's open knowledge, and I sent it to one of my clients and one of the people I wanted to work with, Hamzah. We sent the email, I think it's from either Makkah, I think it was Medina, and we were like, send it, Bismillah, send it, and it's from Medina, inshallah something good will happen. And then it's been announced now, so I'll mention it. But Hamzah, we've managed to get him a really good sort of strategic partnership with an outfit called Select Group, who's just going to help, inshallah, Hamzah do and prepare in the best possible way so he can reach his goals of being a world champion. That's what we all want. So that was the Hamzah story, right? And bless them, so they gave me a bit of credibility, right, in terms of getting a bit more exposure, if I can call it that. They don't need me. They would have done whatever they've done. He's such a good kid. He's so good that people at one point are going to be fighting to get a bit of him and help, work with him. I've got no doubt about that. But the whole legal blows thing started was when I started working with Hamzah and his dad, and I've got to give a shout out to Taz as well, right? I'm his uncle. And these guys know their boxing. Taz has been in this game for 25 years. He's worked with Amir at the highest level. So me, right, when I'm looking at some of the things with my lawyer hat on, I know the legalities of a contract. I don't know what market standard is in the boxing. That's when Taz and Cam will say, Adil, this is what it is. This is why that's in there. Or if I make a decision, this is never going to work. I know law, they know the boxing industry. And together, it's quite a powerful proposition. I would like to think I'm a half-decent lawyer. They're the best in the business in the boxing game. And you put that together, when you negotiate a deal or you're going to have a discussion, it's going to be a sensible one. So, but what I realized pretty quickly was boxers get, in my humble opinion, don't get their dues, right? They've got licensing fees to pay, trainers costs, this cost, that cost. At the end of it, what do they get? Other people, managers, promoters, whoever, make more money than sometimes these kids who are putting their lives on the line every time. Forget going into a ring, every time they spar, every time they go and do some training, So legal blows, I'm a lawyer, right? Blows is boxing. So I was like, it just sounded like a really good name. So I was like, and this is where my son, I give a shout out to Taha, he's running my socials, and I didn't even know what Insta and all of this was, he's really good at it. So I said, let's set up this page. And we were just putting content out there, trying to help advise boxers. So this is what to look out for in a promoter contract. Make sure you've got obligations as a boxer. Make sure your promoter has obligations. Just a bit of education, know your worth. And that's how it started. And then, the more, the people who started getting tracked were maybe because it was some of the messaging I was putting out, but they drew to that. So again, I had conversations with Muslim fighters and non-Muslims, and I want to give a shout out to a couple, if I may. So I spoke with Robbie Davies. He had a horrific injury with his foot. Really nice guy. We had a good conversation. Normal guy. I'm thinking, this is Robbie Davies. I just saw him fight. He's speaking to me now. Dylan Chima, really good guy. From the Sikh community, and he was talking about how the community is getting. And I respect that. Really nice guys. So we started getting this content out, getting a bit more traction. And again, I've said it before. If it wasn't for Hamzah, Cam, and Taz, there would be no legal blows. Who am I? I'm just maybe a successful lawyer, known for Islamic finance, and in the Middle East and a bit in the city, but I'm not known for boxing. Hamzah gave me credibility because people saw me around him and thought, must be doing something right. And then, when he's resharing your post and someone's saying, and they reshare. So it just went on from there. And Eid just went right. And this was really overwhelming as well. Put on a little Eid event. It wasn't a corporate event. It was at my place, right? Where I reached out randomly to a whole lot of these young Muslim fighters and just said, hey, we're having our first Legal Blows Eid event. Would you come? And I was surprised. So many of these young kids, yeah, we're up for it. We're coming, from Leeds, Sheffield, from far, with their amateurs and all sorts. And they came. And, as I've started speaking to some more of them, and I'm getting a lot of love. And what I'm realizing is a lot of these kids, you see Hamzah, mashallah, alhamdulillah, and he's very humble. He's trying, and I know, like we just try to do our best. There's so many of these kids doing that as well. And they need a bit of, I won't say guidance, but it's just a bit of community. So when we had this Eid event, I was saying, like, we haven't had this before, where all these boxes have come in for this. So we had, my boys, mashallah, 2 of them are Hafiz, the third one's, we had them recite. We had my nephew recite his Hafiz one. We had Hamzah Khan here, we had Ahmed, for every offense, every defense, there's sorry, I always get this wrong. For every offense, there's a defense or whatever.
Defense.
Oh, for every, see, I still can't get it right. These brothers come. When I reached out to them, Hamzah and Ahmed, I said, listen, this isn't a corporate event. I'm doing this just to get the brothers together, read and show a bit of, they all came down. They didn't ask for anything. It was just love, and that was humbling for me. So, and when I see them and I see their posts, right, going out. So Legal Blows, it sort of stemmed from this advising boxers as a whole. Then my son Taha is saying, Dad, Legal Blows is one thing, but people want to see who's behind it. So then I set up another page, Adil Hussain LB, follow, give us like the staff. I've done it. But I put that out, and my son is saying to me, tell them what you're about. So I love boxing. I want to educate boxing, but I'm a Muslim and I'm a proud Muslim. I'm not going to shy away from that. So I will put when I'm in the masjid, for example, not to show off, but as an encouragement. So you can be successful, a successful lawyer, banker, engineer, cricketer, boxer, busy. Don't neglect your prayer. Make time for everything else. Prioritize, prayer. What we do is we sort of try and fit in our prayer, but your life should revolve around the prayer. So I'm not going to be apologizing for saying, mashallah, Allahumma barik, mate, I make dua, because that's what, and I honestly believe that. Me saying, good luck, mate, that's not going to do nothing. But if I say, Ya Allah, please let this kid win his fight and return home safely to his family, Ya Allah, please, that's going to do something, not me saying good luck. So there's a lot of that's gone on. So as I said, it's just stemmed from there. So in terms of helping these kids, I'm not doing much, right? Maybe look at a contract, have a discussion, but it's just, I'm just making myself available. If anybody needs a bit of support, whether it's look at a contract, whether it's to have a discussion with someone, trying to use what I've learned in the corporate world and applying those same standards and work ethic with the fighters. Because again, I tell you, man, they work hard. They make a lot of sacrifice. And some of it I relate to. So when I'm in the Middle East, my family's here. For me, that's a sacrifice. The only difference is I eat what I want and I don't train. That's why but these guys do it fully. So I appreciate, some of the sacrifice they make, and I see how hard they work. And I just want to try and help. So there's a few, again, I want to mention their names because they're the sweetest as well. So Akif Fiaz, right? I don't really know him or his brother Asam, but they're lovely kids. And I'm a content junkie, right? And I do get emotional about this stuff. I remember listening to Akif when he was talking about the passing of his mother. May Allah give her Jannatul Firdaus. That was emotional, and you just want to help that. And I'm not doing anything for him, but let's just be clear, I'm not doing anything for him at the moment. I want to, though. I so want to. There's another guy who saw him break down at Sajid. He broke down after a fight, hugged his uncle, and his uncle's giving this most spectacular pep talk. It was captured, That gives us goosebumps, because it shows family unity. And so again, all of that. And another one who lives close, Ayub, 9-year-old. Bless him. Bless him. Allah give him, all the success in the world. But he's so sweet. He's like a little Naseem Hamid, honestly, right? Really good. And sending me voicemails, Uncle Adil, right? First I used to pray, now I'm praying even hard. Things like Anis, Taz, the list goes on. I can, and forgive me anyone who I haven't mentioned, but everyone who I've come across, Muslim or non-Muslim, what I've learned is these kids and these boxers, they're normal, down-to-earth people, and they're good at heart. So if I can help and support, then happy days. And I think, on the wider scale of legal blows, as I said, I'm a lawyer, right? I know the legal and the business side of it, but on the industry side, Taz, phenomenal. He knows this industry in and out. Cam, I always get this wrong, but a top tier, referee, they know the sport. So inshallah, I see legal blows blowing up. Inshallah. Are we going to commercialize it? Probably, because I think, this is a passion thing for me, but there's so much interest, and I think there's a gap in the market, if I can call it, where Taz always says legal blows one-stop shop, where we can help boxers from the legal side of it, promotion side, management side, event side. God knows what. We've got these. Taz has got some amazing ideas. Let's see what happens. So that's what legal blows is about in a nutshell.
Mashallah. That's very, very cool. And there's a couple of things that I want to ask you about, because there's quite big topics, and obviously we've gone on for about an hour and a half. So and again, like from my side, we could go on for however long, but need to be conscious of the audience.
Yeah, of course.
But so when it comes, sorry, do you know what? I just had this weird feeling of deja vu. Like we've done this before. It's very, very weird. SubhanAllah. Maybe I've dreamt this conversation before. But anyway, so
maybe I just talk too much. You feel like you've been
sleeping. No, astaghfirullah. No, mashallah. Like again, I'd say like this has been one of the easiest conversations that I've had. One of the most simplest, that we've had. So I feel like people listening, this has been quite an easy listen for them as well, mashallah. But I do want to talk about a couple of topics which you mentioned. So obviously that's the overview of legal blows. 3 things that I want to ask you about. Okay, first thing I want to ask you about is so you mentioned that there was a commercial deal that you've done already with some brothers out in Dubai. So what does that look like? What's that for? And what's the benefit for them? For investing? And then the other 2 questions I want to ask you about, and the reason I'm saying it up front is so that maybe you can in your mind gauge how much you want to talk about. But the second thing I want to talk about is meeting Prince Naseem Hamid. And third one is has your face come back to normal after speeding up in the Lamborghini with American?
I think it was the Porsche, and I will touch on that as well. So no, thank you. So gosh, now you've got to remind me. I've lost track. The first question was.
I've forgotten that. No, first question was so you mentioned that you've done a commercial deal with Hamzah.
Okay.
So talk about that deal. What does it look like? What's it for? And what's the benefit to those guys for sponsoring?
So okay. I won't go into the specifics because there's obviously confidentiality and all that. All I would say is Select Group, if you Google them, massive in Dubai, and particularly in real estate development. That's their forte, but they've branched out into other businesses as well. But the principal is an entrepreneur, mashallah, done really, really well. Good people. So very successful, and also a very straightforward, straight talker, really nice person as well. Got a lot of time. On my day job, I do their work. It's a client of mine, so I think they know me. I know them. All I would say about that deal is they don't really want anything now. They just want Hamzah to succeed. And they're saying, Hamzah, what do you need, right? You need to train in LA. You need this. Go and do it. Go and do it. Whatever you need, you do it. You train your hardest. And inshallah, we just want to support you to get to being a world champion, keeping you there. Once he's, inshallah, there, they will make money. And inshallah, Hamzah will make money. So it's not just a passion project or some sort of sponsorship deal. There is more to it than that. These are entrepreneurs, they're businessmen, but it will be a win-win for both. So sorry, I don't want to go into too much detail.
No, that's fine. And obviously, we've spoken off camera a little bit about this topic, not in full detail, but it gives me a bit of an indication in terms of how serious these guys are, not only in their own business, but obviously about Hamzah. And from what you're saying, from their perspective, it's almost like a semi-entrepreneurial philanthropy thing where they're like, here's money. We don't necessarily, it's not charity because we're gonna want things
Yeah.
from you later.
Yeah.
But for now, just achieve what you need to achieve.
100%. And look, they're clever people, right? And boxing is a high risk game, right?
Mm.
Rewards may be high, but the risks are high, in my humble opinion, right? Because inshallah, with all of the boxing, we want him, and inshallah, he will get there, right?
Inshallah.
But when we spoke, it just takes one defeat,
Yeah.
right? And your investments could potentially be gone. They recognize that, notwithstanding that, it's like, go on, do your thing. We get it. We didn't sell them, a fairy tale. This is how it's going to, the risks. It's high risk, right? It's, for me, I compare it to like, investing in Bitcoin or cryptos, right? Or any speculative investment. You're only going to put money in if you know you can lose, you're ready to lose it. And I think, it's that sort of analogy. The rewards could be really high. You could get your 10x and you're laughing, right? Or you can get nothing and lose everything. But all I would say again, to not focus on that. What I really want to focus on is when we've had conversations with select group, they honestly at the moment it's like, you know what, if that comes great, but they just want to help the kid.
Okay.
They just want to help him because, as I said, who knows where and how far. Inshallah, he will go all the way and stay there. Then it becomes interesting for them. But there's a while to go, and at the moment, we just want to help. Rahel himself, he's a very passionate in his fitness, and his son likes box. So as you say, it's a quasi passion project, but let's see what happens. Not so dissimilar in a much smaller scale to Legal Blows, right? We're doing this with the right intention. As I said to you before, like with my move to the Middle East, right? I was a kid from East London, 3-bedroom, all of, very humble beginnings. I went to the Middle East not to make money. I wanted to get out of this UK environment and have a more Islamic environment and for my children. So you always say, don't chase success, let success chase you. If you go with the right intentions, I think these guys have. They like Hamzah. They see Hamzah as this, very humble, respectful young man who's very, very good at his trade. And inshallah, he will go all the way. And if he does, great. But at the moment, it's just about supporting him. Same with Legal Blows. It started off as helping. The intention's right. We never thought about monetizing when we started out. When I started, I still don't. But you can see the potential. And if it happens, it happens. Alhamdulillah, So that's on the deal. With Naseem. So I think I mentioned, big blessing, right? When I moved to Dubai 3 years ago, there was a masjid being constructed. And it's like, when is it ever going to finish? Alhamdulillah, it finished and completed just before Ramadan. So I'm going to the mosque now, alhamdulillah, and I said, anyone who can get to me is just completely different. And I said, for me, my mental health and any demons that I have, I go and it just sorts me out. And again, not perfect, but it just helps you to try your best. And so I see Naseem there, right? And I'm taking a slight cheeky one and I'm saying to my kids, Naseem's in the mosque. And I kid you not, right? I'm thinking, I want to speak to him, right? So namaz is finished now and it's Friday prayers. And I've done my sunnah, done my adhkar, everything, right? I'm like, okay, when's he going to come out? So I thought, he's still there.
Oh, so this is Jummah?
This is Jummah namaz in my local mosque.
In your local
mosque that I walk to every day, right? I've seen him.
You've done the Jummah Salah. You've also prayed your sunnah.
Prayed my sunnah, done everything. I'm there for about 15 minutes now, right? And then I think I'm going to wait outside.
Because a lot of people would just do the Jummah and just stand by the
door.
You're
out there, right?
Yeah.
So bless him, Lord bless him honestly, because I can't say he's a friend. I've only met him a few times now. But, I'm waiting probably half an hour now, right? And then he comes out. I say, Assalamu alaikum. I was a bit nervous, right? Because it's big, for us, he's a big superstar, and all of that. He's like, wa alaikum salam. I said, sorry, champ or whatever I called him, was waiting for you. Just wanted to say salam, big fan. And he went, and he lied. He said, I should have come out earlier. Kept you waiting. So bless him, And we had a good, just sort of told him, I'm a fanboy. We watched him and I said, gave him a bit about League Blows. And you know what he said to me, man? He said, alhamdulillah, for me, it means a lot that, I said, I had a big grin on my face. I can't help it. When I get excited, I slur and I, can't stop grinning. So I was probably grinning and acting like an idiot and sounding like an idiot as well, Naseem, but he said to me, he said he actually enjoys that and he was grateful. And he said, remember in your dua, he said, gave him a bit about Legal Blows, I said, no one's done it like you have, your inspiration. And I want to try and instill some of that in the Muslim boxers and, see if they can do something that you did in terms of proclaiming the Islam. And he just said, look, give all the brothers, give them my salams. I wish them all the best. And that was it. I thought, better let him go. right? And then I see him again at, I think, another salah, and I'm thinking, I'm gonna wait for him again. You know, I'm praying now. I'm praying side by side. I'm like waiting for him. Waiting 20 minutes. So this brother, mashallah, Allahumma barik, he's probably one of the first in there, because when I entered the masjid, he's already there. He's already there. I finished. I've done everything, and I'm waiting 15 minutes. He's doing whatever he's doing. He's there. He's just not fight too, and you're out of there. He's mashallah doing his salah properly. And then when I met him again, and again, I hope he won't mind me saying this, but we talked about boxing, and he goes, you know what, the biggest blessing of all this and what I do now, he goes, I'm using what I have and what I've achieved to help Muslims and spread da'wah, basically. And he goes, I have shahads on my hand. People taking shahad every other week, and I'm thinking, subhanallah, this guy was doing it when at his prime. And now I think he's my age or maybe a bit young. I can't remember, he's sort of, and now it's all about Islam. It is all about Islam for him. Even what he's using his time for now, and probably had 4 conversations with him now. I even made him listen to Ayub's voice note, because Ayub is a massive fan of Naseem. And I said, listen to this. And he said, I think he was speaking with his son, Sol, and he said, Prince Naseem said, I get my power not from training, but from Allah or God. And I believe that. So I said to Prince Naseem, this is who you're inspiring. Even this is a 9-year-old. So, the amount of du'as that come out, same with like Amir and Ham, all of these kids now, honestly, I feel so like you just have to make dua for them, right? So as I said, Naseem, bless him. I even gave him my number. I knew he was a bit nervous. I said, look, I'm not going to ask for yours, but here's mine. Please, let me take you out for dinner. I would just love to spend and even to hear more about what he did in the past, but even more so what he's doing now. So nothing but love and respect for him. And, seeing him, as I said, in that environment, and he could have been doing anything, right? MashaAllah, what he's achieved in his career, but he's in the masjid, spending his time there. So that's Naseem. I want to speak about Amir as well, and in fairness for Riyal as well, if I may. So look, I can't say Amir's a mate. I don't think I know him well enough, and who's Adil? He did forget my name a few times. But when I went back to Dubai, I saw him in Ramadan, and we went to a couple of iftars. He had the Amir Khan Foundation iftar. So we went, one in Birmingham, one in Uxbridge, met him there. Always, and I've seen him before, he's forgotten, but he's always, always there for his fans, right? And shake hands and all, bless him, So when we went to Dubai, had dinner with him and Faryal, right? And I kid you not, like, I'm completely starstruck. I've just got off a flight that day. I've got in that zone, haven't slept at all. And I think they could see me that evening. And I should have said, in hindsight, can we do it the next day or whatever? But I'm like not turning down an opportunity, right? To have dinner with them. So we have dinner, and we're talking a bit about whatever. And then he says, Adil, come over to the house. And I was like, and I show you the bed. I was like, I'm not turning down that. I'm completely wasted by now. And I'm now red-eyed and whatever, and still Sammy Khan, But two or three examples I want to give of just this guy has got a heart of gold. And I know, every podcast, I think I saw a couple, everyone bigs up Amir and says this, that. And you know what? I'm going to go on that same bandwagon because he deserves it. He deserves it. And I'm not going to go on about how he's opened up the doors for boxers, because the boxers will speak to that. What I would speak about is a guy who's probably the most successful British, Pakistani boxer or Asian boxer, right? In the UK's had. A celebrity, UK celebrity, right? Really well known amongst everybody who's non-boxing fans. This is a guy, when I'm inviting me to his home, and when we're getting in the car, I think for Riyal was slightly away back, she was doing something, and we get to the car in his Lamborghini now, and I'm going in the back, and he says, "Oh, what are you doing? Sit at the front." I said, "No, I've got to sit." He goes, "No, Riyal will kill me. Sit in the front." And that meant a lot to me. Who am I? I'm nobody, man. And this is like, Amir Khan, you're telling me to sit. And I jump in the back anyway, and I've got a little video. I needed his permission before I can release it. But then Faryal comes, and she's like, "What are you doing in the back? Sit at the front. What are you doing?" And I just thought, man, that meant a lot to me. This is the sort of people, right? So one, they invite me to that. Then they're insisting on me sitting at the front. They didn't have to do that. There was no purpose of them doing that, right? Other than that's how they are. They're just good people. So then I get to his house, and I hear Faryal on the voice, I thought, okay, there's something cooking there. She's making it for me. Yeah, she's like 2 a.m. And then go the Adil come in, and she's putting, food on And this is Frial, man. I'm not being funny, but again, who am I? Then I've got Ahmed there, you know, being at hospital, making me chocolates, and then he takes me up to his house, shows me his belt, his silver medal. And again, I'm completely wasted. Like, I don't know what I'm probably saying or doing. And honestly, I've seen some of the videos. Oh, gosh, is that what I was like sounding like? But I was completely starstruck, and I was, again, probably a bit, you know, jet lagged and all of that. Sorry, it's gonna fall, isn't it? I didn't want it to fall.
Yeah, so you carry, let me help you carry on.
Yeah, so it was, as I said, just the genuine people, both of them. These are superstars, global stars, and all of that. And they're just giving some guy, random guy, really, a lot of love and respect. And I so appreciated that. And then to top it off, the following day, actually, did we go out? We went out even after that as well. We went. He took me to have kheer, and he said, "This is the best kheer you've had." And I said, "Yeah." And then I said, "No, it's not. My wife makes a better kheer." So I said, "When you come, you've got to have it." But he's shown me a lot of love. And then the next day he says, "I'll come." He showed me around his offices, lovely offices, and that's when he was in the Porsche, and he's like, "Let me show you some." This is we're not having much joy here, are we? So I'm just gonna hold it. So he's showing, he's puts his floor down, and I did exaggerate it a bit, head back. But again, he's taking me around and all of that. And I think I saw him again on the third day, And again, I'm just thinking, I couldn't believe it because I'm just nobody. I'm not his friend or mate. And we went, we looked at a few things, and he has got a heart of gold. And so is Farial. I think both of them, again, who are we to judge, right? And again, this has been said, so I'm not going to go over all of that. All I know is what I see in someone, how they are with me. And I will, if I do, I judge them accordingly of how much, don't get how rich you are poor. If you're going to show me love and respect, I will show you as much love and respect back, if not more, if I can. And that's what I saw from these two, nothing but love and respect and humbleness, So, again, it was just a crazy time from, being this big boxing fan and passionate about boxing to working pretty close with Hamzah, Taz, and Cameron, which is brilliant, and then getting to meet your Art Gibbs and Saj and all of these other many others. I'm like died in heaven already almost. It's like I can't. Alhamdulillah, I'm so fortunate. One more thing I will say before we wrap up, because we probably should. But with the power of dua, man. Honestly, I just want to say, I'm not joking, but alhamdulillah has blessed me. But every dua I've made, I'm not joking. Pretty much everything Allah's blessed me with. And I give you one. So, my weight fluctuates. So I told you I was 90 and then went down. Then I'm like, this was 2 years ago. Even after I said, I struggled, right? You can't get into it. I said, I need the training camp. I need to go to training camp. That's the only way. I need to do a boxer. Yeah. And then look, I'm working with Hamzah, and I'm going to LA at the end of the month. And I'll have a month or so with Hamzah. And yes, I thank, and if it wasn't those guys, again, who am I there? I'm blessed, right? I've got good people who are opening their arms to me and letting me come. But this was a dua I made, God knows when. And I said, I need Allah, let me know. Let me go to some sort of training where I can shift somewhere. I don't know if I'm going to shift any now. But, the power of dua, man, is just amazing. And now, as I said, I'm living the dream almost. So, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, bro. A very, very beautiful, man. And I think, like I said, this has been one of the kind of easiest podcasts that I've had to do. And I think really it's just because, all you've really highlighted is the fact that no matter what you've done, no matter what situation's you've gone through, you've always linked it back to Allah. You've always had this connection with Allah, no matter what the scenario, what the situation, what age or anything like that. It was because of Allah. Yeah. And I think that's what makes it very beautiful. And I think, inshallah, the mission that you're on is a mission fi sabilillah. And like you said, like it's one thing to start something off thinking about the money and then doing it fi sabilillah, but it's another thing to start fi sabilillah, realize the impact that you're having, and then thinking, well, if I was to continue this, then I do need to commercialize it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how do I continue doing this good work, right?
Yeah.
So it's a completely different paradigm shift from what usually people kind of have when they're starting a new venture. So yeah, mashallah, just I think from myself, as an outsider looking in, I would just say, it's a very, very beautiful thing that you're trying to do, which is to help boxers out. Obviously there's that added element of the fact that because you're Muslim, another Muslim can come to you and they can trust you, and they know that you've got their value, their interests at heart, and you wouldn't ask them to do anything, or you wouldn't, if you're looking at a contract and you can see that Budweiser is one of the sponsors, you know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
going to bat an eyelid at that.
Yeah,
It's something that you're not going to not look over.
Yeah.
So mashallah, they know that you've got their back from an Islamic perspective as well, mashallah.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's funny, because everybody, I don't understand why sometimes, when I've had some, it's like, and what's in it for you? I say, there's nothing in it for me. There is something in it for me. It's not financial though. It's trying to help, and I'll get a bit of satisfaction about, I've said to all of these kids, I said, listen, if at some point when you're, these world champions, say there was an uncle, who did his little bit and tried to, and make a dua for me, alhamdulillah. Because who knows whose duas gets answered and listened to. So yeah, and just as you say, trying to help. And again, just to reiterate, Muslim, and I'm in dialogue with some non-Muslims as well, and it's all about helping. But again, just to reiterate, you can relate, right, to someone who's of the same.
100%.
That's what it is.
Just closing words then from yourself, bro, in terms of legal blows. Who like, I'm sure, inshallah, I'm very confident that a lot of the Muslim boxers who you've mentioned will reshare this, and they'll obviously have a lot of boxing type of following as well. So a lot of boxers basically, and a lot of coaches and a lot of parents will be watching this that have kids or family, or they themselves might be in boxing. Who should message you, or at least which type of person do you think that you'd be able to help?
So at this, I think, or any boxer, or a parent, even anyone who's in this game, who's working hard in the ring, and then they're faced with a situation where they have to sign any form of legal documentation, whether it's a promoter contract, manager contract, a sponsorship agreement, an endorsement agreement. You don't sign anything without understanding what's in it, please. Because what I'm seeing, and I've seen now, is sometimes, you're just so excited about that, I've being signed up by so-and-so, or I've got this sign, and then it comes back to haunt you down the line, because there's something in there which means you can't get out of it, or there's something in there which means it's not as good as what it seems. And I know how expensive lawyers are, and I'm not about that. I will, at this moment, it's like, it takes me a few hours to look at an hour or look at a contract, and I will just explain what's in there. If there's anything that's not quite right for me, tell you. Up to you whether you sign it or not. It's not for me to decide. But just, now you've got someone who can look at this sort of stuff. That's what we're doing now immediately. It is just looking at contracts, essentially. If it's, putting people in touch with others for sponsorship tools, I can't promise. That's not what I do, but I do law, and I'm good at law, and I can understand contracts. So yeah, if you're I say boxers, parents, because usually it's all family members. If you're looking after your fighter, your friend, who's just have that conversation. Happy to do that. If you're a promoter or a manager, you can reach out as well, because you've got contracts put in place. You want to make sure you're protected as well with relationships you're entering into with other people, whether it's the boxers. All I would say is anybody who wants, to be fit, wants a fair deal and needs a bit of help, then Legal Blows is there. As I said, we deliver our legal blows with the pen, outside of the ring, and handle business outside the ring. That's it.
Alhamdulillah, bro. No, honestly, Adil, absolute pleasure. Not only to meet you, but to hear your story properly, and to see what you're doing with Legal Blows. I wish you nothing but the most success in what you're doing. Obviously, we back Hamzah. We back, obviously, all all the boxers, to be fair. I mean, I'm someone who, trains with other boxers, and, there's some people that I want to mention to you as well.
Yeah, please.
That, that do some really, really good work in the community, and they're on their own journeys as well. And, I think what we were speaking earlier about these boxers is, I think, they're people that literally, you can't not be a humble boxer, because you're going to walk into a ring with someone who's going to punch in the face, and he could be bigger than you, could be smaller than you. It doesn't actually matter. You know what I mean? The person can hurt you, and you have to be aware of this. And so I think there's a lot of humility that comes with boxers. So I think the type of people that you're going to be dealing with are going to be lovely people. But like you said, they're lovely people, but they might not have this knowledge about the law and what they should sign and what they shouldn't sign. And that's where you come in, and where you can offer some help. And it's just something that you want to do from your heart. If there is something that people need to pay, then that'll be later on down the line, and I'm sure you'll tell them up front. But for right now is probably the best time. If you have anything that you need looked over from a legal perspective, and you're a boxer, or a parent of a boxer, anyone in that industry, get in touch with Adil. His links will be in the description below. So his little plug was absolutely fine. Adil Hussain LB on Instagram. And that's about it from me on this side. Are there anything you want to close things off with?
Just a massive jazakallah to you, Hassan, for coming over. I know you've had missions to come over and continue the good work, man. It's,
Inshallah.
you know, I listen to your stuff with interest as well. So jazakallah, keep it up.
Barakallah feek, man. Barakallah.